Double coverage.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Double Coverage. We hope you're still living, loving, and breathing sport. I'm Dom with the Great Man Sauce, and we've got a long-term fan friend, Jarrod, aka Rad Ripper _ Sports Cards. How you both going?
Good, Dom. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Saucy, all well?
I'm very well. Excited to have Jarrod on the show. Long time friend on Instagram, talking all things hobby, talking cards. Me asking about baseball because I don't know nothing about it. And there's something I'll bring up later on in the show. Jarrod, we'll get your opinion on it, and I can bring up a few little comparisons which you wanted to you talked about. So we'll have a chat about it. But Doma, lead us off with first question we have 100%. For our guest.
100%. So just Jarrod, just how you got into the hobby and how long you've been collecting.
When I got into the hobby first as a little kid, man, going to the convenience store with my parents. They'd be picking up stuff, running errands, and I would say, hey, can I get a pack of cards? I was about this old, so just you guys can guess my age. This is the first Michael Jordan card I bought, or that I pulled actually from a pack. I was about seven or eight.
Let's see.
Something like that. And kept it in a binder.
And the addiction started.
And it started. And I just was like, because it was the first pack that I remember buying. And I was like, I got a Michael Jordan card. I got the best card, there is. And I was like, I wanted to keep doing it. And then, you start pulling more guys like back then, like Sean Kemp, stuff like that. Off and on, ever since then, I'm 38. So about 30 years. But, growing up, you've got to find other hobbies and stuff. You get in and out of stuff.
So you took a break for a little bit and then sort of came back, and that was a lot like a lot of people. So when would you say like you came back? Sort of 3-4 years ago.
Well, I was big heavy like in the Kobe years because I was a teenager when Kobe was drafted, and I'm from LA, so big in Kobe cards around that time. I got out again around like a little before LeBron's draft, so I missed basically all of the 2000s. Seriously got back into it maybe 2.5 years ago. I always would be scouring eBay, just looking at stuff just for collecting. Got back into it, about 2.5 years ago.
Lovely.
Nice,
so
mate. Nice.
What do you like to collect, and who do you like to collect?
Mostly I like to collect basketball. I just think it's the most exciting, fast-paced sport out of the 4 major American sports that we have. Kobe's my number one PC guy. Mostly like trying to collect. I'm trying to get all his rookie cards, number one. I'll start trying maybe get some more higher end stuff, but I'd like to get high grade Kobe Bryant rookie cards. I just think that for the high print run that they had back then in the 90s, the condition of the cards, to get some good quality graded ones, it would be a fun little project to work on.
Definitely.
Now, on that point, quick before we move on, Dom, tell us about. You say you're a big Kobe collector. You collected it all back in those days. The Kobe's, they just blew up, right? They blew up last year. They went nuts.
Yeah.
Tell us about going into that into your cupboard and just fetching out all the Kobe's that you had sitting in boxes and folders. And he's got one folder. He's just full of like Kobe base cards, and it's awesome collection. So just tell us about imagine that, Dom. Like Kobe's blow up, and you just walk into your cupboard, and there's a whole bunch of Kobe cards. How many tops base rookies do you reckon you've accumulated?
At the most, at one point in time, I probably had 30, 35 base tops paper.
Yeah.
Not even that long ago, I was picking them up raw, $5-8 a piece.
So there you go, Doma. So it was, the dividends of collecting one of the best players to play. Obviously, big Lakers fan is Jarrod. Yeah. Like myself, I love Kobe. So me and him have that in common. So we always talking Kobe cards. I've got a few ideas off him. Seeing what Kobe cards he's been buying, and then I'm like, oh, I like that card. So then I, might have a look at it. So, look, it's just it's cool. Those sort of stories, where you have all that old collection. And you find it, it's pretty awesome.
Definitely. And this just segues into vintage or modern collecting. What's your take on it? Are you a big modern day collector, or mainly just sticking to the vintage guys?
Well, I mean, we all saw the modern boom the last 18 months, 2 years. But to what a lot of new people in the hobby consider vintage, they might consider 90s vintage. That's kind of like what I grew up with. I think anything vintage is like pre-1970. I don't have a lot of cards from back then, but I think that's kind of the stuff that's really going to hold its value. That's more of like maybe a baseball thing, but basketball, 60s, 70s, 80s stars, those guys. 90s, the 90s stuff is really catching on. I think the 90s had the best card design of any era, anything, any vintage. You really only had base cards. The 90s is where things took off, and they introduced parallels, insert cards, all kinds of different things. Serial numbered cards really kind of started in 1998 with the SP Authentic basketball, the Vince Carter, the Dirk Nowitzki, that rookie year. Ever since then, I'm sort of in between. I like the 90s, early 2000s stuff. 80s and previous, I think, is really cool. Ultra modern, I think, is just too overprinted. And as the years go on, with Panini having the licensing now, everything's just going to be overprinted.
I think it was pretty cool, obviously, to have in the 90s so many, and before that, like so many different brands making cards, like Fleer and Topps and Skybox and Upper Deck. Like there's so much variety. And because there was so much variety, there was so many different idea heads behind creating those inserts that you're talking about and those parallels. And it just gave more, I don't know, of an opportunity to create things that are more aesthetic on a card, because obviously they're competing with each other and they want to have the best card. So they were obviously putting so much into it, where now it's like, it's all just pushed down into one company and they're doing everything. And sometimes we shout as collectors, like, come on, where's the creativity going? And we do that a lot. So what's your thoughts on that? Just, do you think they need to come up with fresher ideas? Maybe they actually listen to some people in the hobby potentially.
I think so. Like you were saying, the variety back then, we had Topps. I'm just talking basketball. We had Topps. There was Fleer and Skybox were part of the same company. Upper Deck was basically king in the 90s. They were making the best stuff. They introduced the game jersey. Topps, Upper Deck both had autograph cards, things like that. Now, with the exclusive licensing in the sports, I think it would be nice to get back to some of that variety again, because Panini makes some nice cards for some sets. But overall, I mean, you got their flagship product, which is Prism, which I think has steadily gotten worse since 2018. 2019, 2020, this year's, I've not paid $1 for any Prism product, because the quality control on it, I just think, is awful, with the centering issues and even the photography. It's copy-pasted photography from last year's product, pasted onto a photo of who knows when that was taken. And we're just all supposed to buy it because it's Prism and that's what you're supposed to do. Which, you know, having some kind of knowledge and not just doing what you're fed online or from other influencers really helps when you kind of, you know, there's a guy out here named Mark, and he's always pushing people, buy what you like, buy what you like. And that's key. But like, you know, I do think Panini's putting out too many products under their name.
I was going to actually say, do you think that it should become less is more?
Less is more. I liked the fact how, I mean, you do need your retail. You do need the stuff that everybody can get. And it's fine. You know, Prism, I think Prism's perfect for that, because it is, you know, started out as one of their premier product, really nice looking, really clean. Select was hobby only. I loved that. Now, starting this year with the football product, it's going into retail. I'm sure it's going to follow with basketball next year too. But I think that we don't need the, you know, the Chronicles and because Chronicles is just watered down rookie cards.
They just put a bit of everything in there. Look, personally, this is the thing. I don't mind Chronicles, but I think, Chronicles isn't one of those products that should be like, going off the shelf and people should be able to be, hawking it off for more money and it's got resale value. Like that Chronicles to me is the perfect product that should be, $20. You give it to a kid.
Yes.
They are over the moon. They
Absolutely.
are getting, a whole heap of Zions and Jars, as it was last year. You get nearly every rookie. And, that's the perfect thing for a kid. You want them to pull like cards of players that they know that they watch, and that's the perfect product. And I think that's, like even Hoops, that doesn't happen. Hoops, it's more rare to pull rookies than it is in Chronicles. So I think it's good to have that set out there. But I agree with you. I think there's too many sets. I don't like that they're watering down now the select.
Mm-hmm.
It was previously only hobby that made it a bit more scarce. That was something that I talked about so much with last year's print, and I was like, I'm just going to buy more select stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and look, I don't even know. I reckon last year they probably even printed freaking more Prism than they did Mosaic with that first year Mosaic. They maybe didn't know how much it was going to go because, some of that stuff is hard to find now and the prices is going up on it. So then it is to find Prism boxes. So like it's, we don't really know and that's what's funny with the beast that is Prism. You say like, you're just told to do that by people online because Prism is the investor card. You know what I mean? Like that's how the way it's portrayed.
Yeah.
And that's not the reality. Like at the end of the day, you got to buy what you're going to be happy with in your collection. If in my sense, right? So like collecting Kobe's, what am I going to be happy with? In terms of what sets and then on the flip side, in the modern, SGA is one of my big modern guys like yourself. Jarrod, he was one guy that I gravitated towards in the modern market. And I went more like down like optic and more looking for autos and, going down that path than just buying, colored Prism. I don't even think I have one colored Prism SGA card in my collection. It's just more, I've got a few nice autos. I've got one nice blue color match or numbered auto in the collection, optic. So it's each to their own, but just have a bigger outlook at what possibly could be added to your collection than just thinking Prism all the time. So look, I like that mentality.
It's interesting as well. I know we've just gone off on a tangent. We always do this on the show. So, but it's even like the high end stuff, and I'll look at the high end stuff and I go, NT obviously is like the holy grail, and everyone's like NT.
Overrated,
and then
overrated, drummer.
No, but what I'm saying is we've got NT, and then we've got Immaculate, and then we've got Flawless, and then we've got Eminence, and then we've got Opulence, and then we've got Impeccable, and it's like it's crazy. Like what you don't people say this is a true RPA of the so-and-so rookie. Oh, the NT is a true RPA. But is it? Like, really? There's that many high-end products. You could say any high-end product is really their true RPA. When you're spending thousands of dollars on a box, you bloody hope that it's their true RPA. Like, it's out of control. Just your thoughts on that, like the high-end stuff. And obviously the high-end stuff, it's cool because you can get on-card autos and the designs are, should be a lot better than the lower end stuff. Not always, but most
not
of the
always,
time.
Not always.
It's cool, but if I'm spending $11,000 on a box, I better damn well get something better than a Kyle Guy autograph. Like it's the players that Panini puts in their autographs is insane. It's people from like the 70s and 80s that no one's ever heard of. And somehow they just sent them a sheet of stickers and said, here, sign this. And we're going to slap it on a card. And the NT, NT makes beautiful cards. I think Flawless is one of the best looking products out there.
Flawless is nice.
But I don't think it's worth ripping. Just find the card that you want and
pre-order $5,000 a box Australian. I seen came out and I seen that on a retailer, $5,000 for this year's NT product, $5,000 a box Australian. So I think that'd be about $3,500 US around that mark. Rad. So and that's a pre-order. So you got to pay that money and you got to be without it until NT comes in stock.
Right. Yeah, it's just I think the risk for which, I mean, you're always when you're ripping, the odds are not in your favor. That's the gamble. You know, you could hit big,
Really?
but more often than not, you're really not going to make your money back on the box. So I think putting that on a larger scale. I mean, if you've got the disposable income to do that, awesome. I love going online and watching people rip national treasures and flawless and things like that, because it's just like, oh, I would like to do that, but I also don't have the disposable income to be dropping $3,000-$5,000 on a box, and then if I don't hit, just be like, okay, another one. But in that aspect, I would say, you know, go for the cards that you want, because most of the time they're going to be available on eBay, Instagram, or somewhere available anyway. After somebody else has already paid to rip the box, you can go get the card that you want.
100%. I know Source has been saying that a lot as well. You just might as well just go get the card instead of gambling, really. Honestly, when you're ripping one box or breaking one box, especially of like those smaller end, high-end products, but with smaller not print runs, but card amounts within the box. So if you're breaking flawless and there's like 8 cards in there and it's one box and you're spending X amount of dollars on it, and it's like your odds are not in your favor. It's like really what we like to say is it's gambling with a tangible product. But if you get a tangible product out of the gambling, like you might go into it and you might not get anything, because obviously there's 8 cards, and sometimes there could be 2 of the same team in the product. So then all of a sudden it goes down to seven chances, really. But the funny thing is, like, would you bet on a soccer team or an NBA team like Brooklyn? For example, Harden, Kyrie, and Durant were out against the Bucks, and Bucks had the full team. Would you gamble on that game and bet on Brooklyn? No, you wouldn't.
Probably not. No.
So why would you go into a product when it's one box? Like we always say, half case and cases are probably the best, because the odds are more in your favor, and hopefully you can get a case hit potentially, and that's like, all right, you got a mojo card and you've made your money. But thinking about it, in that betting sense, you're flushing your money down the toilet, and it's about pretty much the same thing. It's pure chance. Just imagine 8 teams, and like you said, you're going to get some vet. You're going to get Lakers, and you're going to be like, oh, sick, I'm going to get Kobe, and you pull a Kurt Rambis. Like, how happy you're going to be on that? Just spend hundreds of dollars, and the card's worth $100. Not even. It's crazy. It's just insane. And like you said, the disposable income, if people have it, they just love doing it because they love ripping that high-end stuff, and I completely understand it. But sometimes a one-box break for those high-end stuff, it's not really.
4 years ago, you could buy a whole case for $2,500 Australian dollar.
We tell this story all the time. We know somebody, and I was there when the person ripped a case of flawless, and he pulled 4 Kobe's in a case of flawless.
Oh my god!
And it was 3. One, it was like one memorabilia card. I think one was like a jumbo patch, and then it was 2 patch autos, and then remember how they had the anthology packs, the Kobe anthology packs?
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, it's usually base, but there's actually a chance you could get an auto in there, and it was like slim to no chance of getting it. And that person opened the anthology pack and got an on-card Kobe auto in there as well. It was just like unbelievable.
That's
it was
awesome.
Just crazy. You got the case hit, which was a Kobe, and then he opened the anthology pack, and it was a Kobe as well.
That's unreal. That's unreal.
But that was like $2.5K for a case of flawless, and he just dominated. Man. And now you can't get it. You can't even get a box for $2.5K. No. It's insane. All right, let's move on. The hobby crash. It's over. Jarrod, we've heard it 1,000 times. It's finished.
It's over. Vegas Dave was right. I think he was wrong, because he said it was going to be 3 years from now, and it was 3 months.
Lamont Dave, we love him. But it's fun. It's funnily enough, the hobby's crashed. But you're a person that goes to a lot of shows, large and small. I just want to know what your take is regarding the health of the hobby based on the shows you go to.
Oh, it's always different. I mean, everything's down right now. I don't think anyone's really trying to lie to themselves and say it's down. There's a point between a healthy market and what people consider a crash. It's a crash in a sense of how quickly it went down. It wasn't steady by any means. I mean, when were the prices pretty high still? Like April, mid-April, beginning of April? Yeah, this is less than 2 months. But still, I think what a lot of people that are newer into the hobby, and by newer, I mean, have started, winter or our winter, just like Christmas 2019 and after the All-Star game of Luka, around COVID, when the COVID boom. Anybody that was in the hobby before that, they know that what we're thinking the floor is right now is still higher than what the ceiling was then. So if you had cards back then, you're still up from where you were. If you got in late, the only thing, and I've said it on other Instagram lives that I've done before, the only thing that you've seen the last 18 months is a steady rise. You could buy anything and make money on it. That's what I was doing when I was going to set up at these shows. I would just buy anything, because a lot of times, one card, for example, when Last Dance came out, Bull stuff's flying on eBay, going for crazy money, Jordan. The 1997 Metal Universe, not the PMG's dream card, but the base Jordan. I think I bought a BGS 9, one of those. I got it overnight. I got it not overnight, but bought it for about $300. By the time I got it in the mail 5 days later, it was doing 900 on eBay. So I just put it on eBay the same day that I bought it, tripled my money. I own the card for maybe 12 hours in my possession. We're not going to get back to that again. I think the cards will go back up, as with any kind of other, alternative asset. It's just going to be more steady. People just need to be patient. They've seen the quick rise, and now it's been like a quick fall, but I still don't consider it a crash. At the shows, I've only been to 2 Dallas shows, but those are 2 of the bigger shows out here in the States. A lot of people are familiar with it. March, it was everybody's Durant, Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, yada, yada, yada. Nobody was really doing the modern base stuff anymore. That's kind of when I noticed the decline. May, I was just out there. Everybody that was approaching a dealer, they were looking to sell. They weren't going up there and being like, oh, how much is that card? Oh, how much is that card? They were just like, hey, are you buying? Hey, are you buying? Hey, are you buying? And so when you're trying to sell to somebody else who's also trying to sell, it's a bit of a stalemate there. A lot of the higher end stuff was moving, but anything under maybe 1,500 or so, I think people are kind of not sure where that stuff stands, because they don't know how much further it might drop.
100%.
Yep, that's a very fair point.
I don't know. It's just been so interesting to see this. It's more like people, obviously, like you're saying, back then it was more buy and you can sell it and get big profits real quick. Mm-hmm. And there's still opportunity to buy now, but you know what it's like. Sources knows what it's like. Like people don't want to grind for the small wins anymore, because they're so used to the like go big or go home type of attitude. It's like, oh yeah, like you're saying, buy a car for 300, I can sell it for 900. They don't want to buy a car for 300 and sell it for 310. Even that it's $10 they never had. Right. They're not willing to just build upon that. It's just like, no, I want the 600. So that's why a lot of people have dropped out of the hobby. And let's not get this wrong. Like, you'll see all those people come back if there's ever, and hopefully there is a massive run up back in this hobby in terms of card prices. They'll come straight back. Right. 100%. Like they will. But it's more, those are the people during COVID, they were at home. There was a bit of extra money lying around, and they could see the returns. Obviously, they couldn't go to work, a lot of these people, and they've gone, shit, I can turn 300 into 900 in 12 hours. Like, where you're getting like a $600 a day, really, like as your wage, pretty much, if you're buying these cards. Yeah. So that's the way they saw it. So they went heavily into it. And then obviously as everything starts to open up, people going back to work, less eyes on the hobby. Well, there's still eyes on the hobby, but not as frequent throughout the day as what it was when you're cooped up inside.
I mean, think about it. If you're working from home and you're doing an office job, it's a bit more difficult if you're in the office to be on Facebook, scrolling through Facebook groups and buying cards and eBay and things like that. You're going to get in strife. Your employee doesn't want you to do that. You're at home. You're doing your office job from home. You're working on Microsoft Teams or something like that. And they don't really know what you're doing. So you're in the meantime, you're searching eBay, you're looking through cards, more opportunity to buy and sell and flip. And you spoke about it, Dom, and you talked about the grind. And doing things like, I seen in the opportunity where no one was buying like a Zion base Donruss in the early days, and people were selling them for $5 Australian, and I was literally just buying every single one I could, right? And this is just brings it back to like, I don't think we'll get this situation. I mean, people are having a hard time selling their LaMelo Ball Donruss bases for 15 to 20 Australian dollars, let alone at one point I was selling Donruss Zions for like $40, right, Australian, that I bought for $5. And so these are the small wins that you could have. You still can have them now, like picking up certain colored variants of cards, and grinding through, buying lots and sifting through, maybe grading one or two cards out of that might be potential, and then getting your money back from those cards to use that money to grade. Like, that's where it brings in the process of some of the things you need to think of. I don't know where the base grading market sits. This is where I think there's going to be another twist in this to happen, in my opinion. I think gone are the days of people hoarding Prism base and Optic base and Select base, even if that's coming to retail now and stuff like that. I mean, people grading base hoops and base, all this sort of stuff. I don't think there's a market for it. BGS is too expensive. You're not going to pay $20 a card to send, or $30 a card to send it to SGC, because you might not even get the return on it, right? PSA, you're definitely not going to take that shit anymore. And so where does it go? It might go to CSG. That's the only place that I can think, because you can actually send it on a I think a 90-day turnaround that might be $10, $12, $15 a card US, and they've even got a lesser one like that, and that's nearly like a year turnaround. It's 200 business days. That's what they say, 200 business days. So that's more, like that could be like 8 to 10 months, right? Yeah. So there is still a grading company that's accepting that sort of stuff, but is there a point where people realize, shit, that's the only really grading company I can send it to, where I can make some money, where I can send something I bought for $1 or $2, grade it for $10, and same theory back with PSA, and does it bring that other grading company into it? That's the only place that I can think. But then think about how many base cards there are, and everyone has that thought, and they send all those cards there. What happens to them? No different to what happened to PSA. So then we're in the same shit again, right? So this is where I'm like, where does this all turn to? Is there now a base grading market opportunity other than like the main guys, other than LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, where people are still probably going to grade that stuff because there's probably still a return? You buy that card for X amount. I think Anthony Edwards gone for $50 to $70. You grade it maybe for $50 that ends up being, and it might sell for $300 if it gets a 10. But you might not be getting the same returns on the 9s now, because there's a higher grading price that's eating into your profits. So I think there's another twist in this. What's your thoughts on that point, Jarrod? Because you've graded a lot of base.
I have graded a lot of base, and
modern base I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. One of the best returns I got was LeBron 2019 Prism. First year Lakers Prism. That's how everybody was pumping that card up as. LeBron's first Prism card in a Lakers jersey.
Hey, I made money off that. I'm not going to say that it
wasn't. I was
buying
too.
green Prisms off eBay US for $2-3 they're going for at the start, and then probably 2 weeks after that, after I bought all these LeBron colored cards, people started talking about it, and I was like, I so how did I know this would be a thing? Because people were trying to pump up the 2018 Optic, and that's fallen from the sky. Same theory. So go on, Jarrod.
I was going to say I had about 15 of them that I just had laying around, so I rushed them with my local card shop, about $50 a card. Got them about 2 weeks later because turnaround times were still good. They were doing, I think they had already started coming down from the peak they were around $800 as a PSA 10. I went 12 for 15 PSA 10 and 3 9s. And they were going about 550.
12 for 15.
Like, they were going about 550 a piece. And so I threw them up on Instagram, and it was great. Somebody threw me an offer like kind of low. We went back and forth a little bit on it. Anyway, we settled on $415 a piece, which was a great deal for him at that point when they're going for $550, and it's a great deal for me too, because I'm only into it for basically the cost of grading, because those cards are only a couple of bucks. people were trying to spin the narrative on that card one way as like, oh, LeBron's first year Lakers jersey. Me, I see 18th year base card. I don't care what jersey he's wearing. I think the market's gotten smarter since then, because that card as a PSA 10 now is worth about $40.
Yeah, last sold Jarrod $53.
Oh, it went up. So
it's back. It's climbing. It's going to get back climbing. Up there.
Stuff like that. Yeah, base. So I think really where base is now, that's kind of for the set builders, people that might want slab sets, things like that. Or, people are just like, oh, I want to collect this rookie class and get all the base. I mean, there's always going to be a market for it, but it's very good. It's going to be very much entry level now. Like I said, people have gotten smarter, and that's good for everybody, because stuff that was that price, like Bubble Tyler Hero, $300-400 base card, PSA 10, there's no way that should have ever been that much money.
And the funny thing about that, and it's not good to laugh at the misfortune, and I'm not going to, but it is a funny thing where it's like, we were one of those people that were telling people, stop sending your cards to PSA. Mm-hmm. Like, we kept saying to people, stop sending them. Like, the backlog is not going to get better. You're just going to make it worse. But how many people have just been left in the lurch, like with PSA shutting down, and now Tyler Hero, that like Bubble Hero, $300, like you're saying, that card is worth nothing now.
And literally, mind you, at that point, Doma, like, this is what's great about Card Ladder. I'm looking at Card Ladder right now. I'm looking at that. And, base, if you were buying it as a base in that, like just raw, you were paying $30 to $40 per raw card. Mind you, this was a card that was going for as little as $1 to $5, early days, right? So those people that are buying more for $1, $5, they're flogging them off for $25 plus. They're making nearly 5x their money. Some people who bought them for $1, $2 making 20x their money. Like, think about that, 20 plus x your money, right? And then those people that were buying at $30, $40 seeing, oh, I can do that, I can send it for grading for $20 to $20. I think $15 at the time. It may have been the cost of grading. You sent it then, or a bit higher one, and it comes back at 10. And all these people are now who have sent all those Tyler Hero cards that have bought them at the top of the market and graded them. They're now getting them back. And a PSA 10 today is worth Doma. PSA 10 is worth $60. And it has a pop report of 5,000, and by the end of this backlog's finished, that pop report, I guarantee you, will probably be about 10,000 plus.
It's really unfortunate. I mean, talk about being caught holding the bag. It's really unfortunate, and it's happened to everybody. Maybe not in such a large scale, but at one point and another, we always see the wins online, but everybody's taken an L. People take L's all the time. 100%. And sometimes, like, I would say, like right now, like how you were saying earlier, the people don't want to grind it out and put the work in to make the money, take the $10-15 on a card. In that case, sell at a bit of a loss, take what you can, because at least you're getting something in return instead of sitting on money that's not spendable or usable, and reinvest it in something else, whether it's cards or something else you believe in. Maybe just be more selective with I've definitely gotten a lot more selective with my buying. I have hardly been buying cards in the last couple of months. And I'm doing that too. I'm moving stuff, taking losses left and right, just to get some cash back so that I can buy some other stuff. I'm going to the National in a month. So if I can sell whatever I can, I'd just be like, you know what, Jarrod, it is what it is. You're losing on these. Take your 70% comps or whatever someone's willing to give you on it, because they've got it. The other people, they're the ones that are willing to put in the work and grind it out. So you've got to be willing to take less money for someone else to do that work. Same as it's same as like doing consignment. So I take what I can get, take that, be more selective, and go buy something else. Maybe have less cards, but maybe cards that you either like better or are more desirable, some that you might think might accumulate value over time, and not be so spread thin with, 2 cases full of base Rui Hachimura at the card show.
Yeah, 100%. And not for any, that's another issue underlying in itself. And I mentioned this on a podcast like about probably a month ago now. And I said the mentality of people when it comes to investments and money is when they have an asset and they've put money into an asset and they've bought it for X, they don't want to sell it for less than X, because the mentality is, I don't want to walk away from an investment with a loss. They want to try and get back at the break even if the break even is $40 more than what the current comp is. And that's why, like, it's either they want to profit or they want to break even so they can say, oh, I didn't lose any money on this investment. Like, you have to cut your losses sometimes, and this is what happens. It's unfortunately, this is the state of the hobby at the moment in the market, and this is what it is. And your mentality is 100% on the money. You have to sometimes take a loss to reinvest it into whether it's cards or something else for your benefit, for your gain. It's just that mentality. It's the way people think, and not everyone does think like that, but majority of people, that's just what it is. When human beings and money, it's just like they want to either break even or make a profit. They never want to say, "Oh, I made a loss."
Yeah, it's hard, and it's hard to accept that. It really is. But you also got to think, what's your time worth? You know, do you want these things just sitting here? You know, maybe they go back up in price. Maybe they keep dropping. Maybe you turn down an offer today. A week from now, you wouldn't even get what you were offered today. So, you know, it's you just really got to, you know, look at what you've got, decide what's really worth keeping, what you like, what you want to hold on to. Realize, you know, we're all not going to make the right choices. We all can't predict the future. If you can move on from something, do it. And I got a few buddies that I talk to, and they're always saying, like, you'll never lose if you take a profit, and you'll never lose if you get some money back instead of just letting it drop to 0.
100%.
You know, so something's better than nothing.
Exactly. That's exactly right. We were going to ask you about PSA's reopening. What do you think is going to happen? But we can't exactly ask that question because PSA has reopened with the $200 option. That's all. That's all. Nothing less than the $200 option. But then obviously a few crazy things did happen overnight, and they acquired Golden Auctions, the same. Is it consortium? Is that the word? I hope I've got that correct. That bought out Collectors Universe. Obviously, Nat Turner and those people have just gone out and bought and acquired Golden Auctions. So they've partnered up. Just your thoughts on PSA in general, and how you think it will play out now with the $200 option, and what you think this acquisition of Golden Auction may do also for PSA. Even that, you know, they're not directly linked, as they're saying, but
well, they will be. I mean, if they're all the same company, it's just time, paperwork, and, you know, staffing, getting their board together and all that. $200 for that new regular service. I think that's a $50 raise. I think that was $150 before the shutdown. So they've got the $200 Express, the $300 Super Express, and the $600 walkthrough. That's all they've got right now. So it's a little bit of a win if maybe there's something that you didn't think was worth $300 to grade, but maybe it's worth $200 to grade. I think sending in anything with PSA that's worth less than $700-800 probably is not worth it. And you really got to look at what the comps are, and if you get a 9 or a 10. Any card that I grade, I send in expecting a 9. A 10 is a happy surprise. So I look at the value of 9s when I'm grading stuff. PSA, I mean, they're the gold standard because we all say they are. I honestly think Beckett's got the nicest slabs out there, and I think they're the best value when you're buying a slab, not when you're grading. But with the PSA acquisition, I think it'll be good. It's a little bit odd that it happened, I think, but I want to be optimistic. I want to be optimistic with everything and hope for the best, but, you know, plan that, you know, PSA prices are not going to drop anytime soon in the next couple of years. They've still got millions in the backlog. Every card that we send in is just adding to that backlog. But I get it.
Nat said that there's still 12 to 18 months before they fully get through the backlog.
I'm sure.
That's what he actually said. That was recent. I think that was like 3 days ago or something. He said
he's done a few podcasts within the last week.
Yeah, they're still actively trying to get through that backlog. And like you said, when options open, cards get sent in. It's not like everyone's going, oh, it's 200, 300, and 600. Oh, it's too much. We're not sending cards in.
Yeah.
Like the way that people are thinking, oh, they won't send it because it's too expensive. What are you talking about? Yes, they will. They'll still be sending cards.
The price raise didn't stop them from sending it in. That's why they shut down in the first place. Exactly
right.
Yeah.
And not for anything, we always said the base option when they finally do open up is not going to be at, what was it, $40? Was it $40? It's not going to be back at that. It is definitely not. If you go look at everything going up by $50, even like if we get down to that stage, I even see that going up by $20, $30. So potentially your base being at around $60 to $70 a card. Like, and the perfect example, we just literally gave the run through of a Tyler Hero. Like, his PSA 10 is $60. So the price to go grade it is as much as a PSA 10. So I don't know. It's going to be so weird, but people think it's just going to go back to normal when they fully open. It's not going to. It definitely is not going to.
And I'm glad they didn't bring back bulk submissions right now. This gives them more time to work through that backlog because they're going to start getting more cards sent in, but it's going to be way less volume.
100%.
Hopefully it's more, they can deal with that. And there's other, we all want PSA. We all want PSA 10s because PSA 10s, well, again, another thing because I'm older than a lot of the new people, BGS 9.5s no more than 3 years ago were doing more than PSA 10s in the hobby. BGS was the gold standard. PSA 10 was still up there, but everybody wanted a Beckett 9.5 because they love the subgrades. I think once people started realizing 10 is more than 9.5, they like seeing that more on their cards because BGS 10s are so incredibly hard to get, and PSA 10s were a lot easier to get.
Would you agree that the way that PSA was able to market themselves over the last 3 years and has been a lot better than sort of BGS, and that's where they've risen to fame and become the top dog in terms of card prices? I mean, now it's to the point where some BGS 10s are literally selling for the same price as PSA 10s when we know the rarity on BGS 10s is a lot more scarce than PSA in general terms.
Beckett's been god awful. They just the customer service and the turnarounds, and they're sitting on their hands. And PSA is at least out there, making announcements, sending emails to people. This is where we're at. This is what we're doing. They got Nat Turner's out there like saying he's like, this is what we're trying to do to solve this problem. Because I feel like he genuinely wants to fix the issues that are at hand. And Beckett's just kind of sitting there. They're just like, send us a card or don't. We've got all these cards, and we'll get to them when we get to them. I mean, I'm sure they're trying, but it just, when you don't hear anything, you don't see much of anything, it's hard to kind of put your faith into something like that.
100%.
Very fair point.
Have you ever? The question, you said it, like PSA is the gold standard, but when people say PSA the gold standard, and there's other people out there like, PSA, people just think, oh, that's all people grade with. So the question is, have you ever graded with anyone outside of PSA? Because Source and I are very big on the fact that anyone can eat in the grading circle. It doesn't have to just be beholden to one company. So we're just interested.
I used to exclusively only grade with Beckett because the same thing. I think their slabs look nicer. All the cards that I would get for my PC, I liked seeing them in a Beckett slab. And the stuff that I would pull back when wax was affordable, I could grade. And if I didn't want it, I'd put it on eBay and sell it, and then take that money and grade more cards that I wanted and things like that. Just keep the wheel turning for itself. That's besides the point. But I used to only grade Beckett. I never graded PSA. I only started grading PSA when I discovered group subbers, because Beckett, you can have your own personal account. You don't really need to have like a dealer account or anything. Like how PSA, you either need to belong to their club and have a membership, or send with a group subber. Beckett, you could just send cards in. I I've been looking at SGC a little bit now for like some baseball cards of mine that I have that I would like to get slabbed. I think they're a decent play right now with their turnaround times. The argument against SGC is, of course, the return on your sale of your cards is not going to be anywhere near PSA. But I mean, the market dictates who they want to buy, and everybody wants to buy a PSA. I have crossed over a SGC 10 to a PSA 10. So I don't think that it's, that they grade easier or anything like that.
They don't grade easier, right? I've graded with them.
Yeah.
I graded 50 plus cards with them, and they grade very fairly. And some of their grades, I know someone else who, as you said, their cards are a bit hard to move. Someone else I know graded more cards than I did with them in the same group sub. They got them back. They sold off, a few, probably 20-30%, but they just couldn't move some of the other stuff. So he cracked them all and resent them to PSA. He got them back, and a whole bunch of them that were 9s, 5s, and 10s all crossed over to PSA 10s. So
which is awesome.
It's very comparable. So I think the perception in the market needs to be changed a bit, and people don't want to get the returns. I mean, but when back a while ago, I was buying Shaq Tops rookies in SGC 9.5s for $50, and then when the run up came around and I sold them for 300. I mean, I'm happy with 6x return. So I mean, there is opportunity in other grading companies than just buying PSA, and I think it just goes to show that at you buy the right card and you wait for it, and you maybe buy it at a good price point. You sit on that card. There will be an opportunity if you believe that's a good card that's going to rise. That it will go up in value. And the SGC is no different whether it's in a PSA slab or a SGC slab. Yeah, maybe in a PSA slab it's $800, but in the SGC it's only it's only $300 or $400, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to get a return on that, and that return, once again, you can reinvest in some other cards or some other things, or grade more cards. So,
and the main thing with that is, how long are you going to have to wait to get your card back from PSA to get that $800?
Correct.
SGC right now, their 30-day service is coming back in a week and a half, 2 weeks. I've had multiple people tell me on Instagram that have been subbing. That's great. Awesome. And so if you can keep that going, it's not like selling at a loss, but you're selling at a lower return, which is still more than you had. It's still profit. Profit's profit. So if you can just keep doing that and make profit numerous times on SGC returns before you even get one return back from PSA, in the long run, you probably end up with more money because you're able to do that longer. So why wouldn't you do that?
I think SGC is a play. 100% it is. It's just that mentality. Once again, it all comes down to, as Perk said, if it ain't PSA, don't bring it our way. So literally, that's what it's become. It genuinely has. Yeah. And we've graded with CGC. So Source and I graded some Pokemon cards with CGC. Obviously, CSG is the sports card affiliate of that, and they're like world-renowned CGC for comic books and for TCG cards. And it's like, what did people think that their sports card department was going to be like? It was going to be some shabby outfit that had no idea what they're doing. Like, they've got the reputation that carries over. And CSG cards have been graded fairly, and some people don't like the look of the slab. But in the end of the day, it's like cards encased and protected, and it's great. I'd grade with CSG tomorrow, knowing the fact that they've got a reputation in the hobby and they've been around for so long. Like, what's to say that their standards aren't as good, if not better, than SGC or PSA? You just don't know that. And
you just don't know.
You're trusting someone else with your cards at the end of the day. So you don't know. There's so much ambiguity behind who's grading your card, and like, people's mentality is, that's the thing. It's let's go to PSA. You don't know. They could all be the same. They could literally all be the same.
Yeah, no matter what grading company it is, it's all subjective by a human opinion. Humans are imperfect people. So until there's 100% AI grading or something, there's guidelines, and you try and stay within those guidelines, but it's still someone's opinion. I would joke around with people at the local card shop when I get a bad return. What I think is a bad return, I get like a bunch of 7s, 8s, and 9s. And I would just be like, oh, this guy must have had a fight with his wife the night before he got my cards. Because, stuff that I thought looked pretty good, Apparently not. And, and it's all subjective. And I think having all these grading, not maybe 10 grading companies, but, I think the 5 or 6, I think that are out there right now. I mean, it's good to have options like that.
There's a new one popping up every week. There's literally
Black Mamba.
It's
this
ridiculous.
Week.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's look, I'm not even going to give them a shout out. I think there's only 5 main reputable grading companies, and then every other company other than that is just a card protecting service. They're not a grading company. Yeah, they put a number on the top of your card, but for me, what gives you the nous or the reputation to say that you're a card grader? Like you're just a card protecting service to me. And if I want to do that, not for anything, literally go look up on eBay. You can buy empty slabs and get them yourself. And if you want, you can print out your own little label and put it in the case yourself. And you've just slabbed a card at home by yourself for $5, right? And you've protected it. If you really don't, this is why another discussion where we're probably go and do another podcast about this, but about the whole thing about grading, is it really needed? Like, I mean, especially I think where shows can be a factor where you can actually see the condition of the card because you're at the show, and you can be like, oh, this card should be worth a little bit extra because it's centered, it's good condition, you can tell it's got corners. I mean, I've seen people at shows freaking with jewelers loops and stuff like that. They're looking at cards, so you can tell that yourself at the show, and maybe a better condition card, and it's agreed upon you as the buyer and him as the seller that it does probably carry a bit more premium. That's why that seller may have priced that card a bit higher. I think there's going to be a market even for people that look over cards. Like me, when I look over cards, I make a little note and I stick it on the sleeve and then slide it into the top loader. And it's like a little post-it note that sort of, if it's good, it's pretty much just gets a green little sticker that I think this is grading quality. But if it's, got issues on it, like I write the little flaws on it that I can find, if I find 1 or 2 flaws that automatically I think it's going to stop it from getting a 9 or above, I automatically just write those down and I don't look any further, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's good, or if it's got like 1 flaw that I can see, then I'll write it down, and it gets like an amber sticker, right? So that it could or may not, and then like the ones that are average just get straight a pink sticker. They're just like, no way you're grading it. And I think there could be a point where if people start doing that, and it's like, oh, I don't want to wait this long to get my card back from PSA. So I'm just going to charge an extra $20 on top of comps because I think this card's good quality for grading. And if you actually want to wait the time to grade it, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, the returns at the end are there for you as the person, but you've got to wait. I'm here as a person. I just want to flip the cards. I want to get some money back, buy some more cards. As you said, do that rinse and repeat sort of cycle. Mm-hmm. I think that could be a play with people at shows, premium boxes. These are cards you've spent time. So people are sort of paying for your reviewing services. And you've got a reputation online, on your Instagram page, and you'll grade a lot of cards and people see that. And you're at a show charging a bit more premium on a box. Everything in this box is X amount because I think it's grading quality. And it's like, if you want to send it off for the grading and wait, you got to pay the bit extra money. So I think that it could be open up a whole new avenue of doors of people, pricing stuff a bit different, not just going straight off the first eBay comp, because let's be honest, a lot of cards on eBay you buy, they're not grading quality, right? Yeah. And look, you can get stuff on there. Don't get me wrong, I've bought stuff on there on eBay that is grading quality, but a lot of, many of the time it's hard to judge the quality on an image. So when you're at a show, it's much easier. So I think this is another aspect that will come into the hobby.
Much easier. I set up at a little local show last night too, just trying to move some stuff. And I had little cheap boxes, 50 cent, $1, $2, $5. And then I had another box that said just priced as marked. And they were higher end stuff, $10 to $100 raw card, some stuff in there, a couple $100. So people go through the cheap boxes. They don't expect a lot. They go through the priced as marked box and they're just like, what's wrong with this one? Why didn't you grade this one? What's the damage here? And I say, I got the card 3 weeks ago. I don't want to wait on it. I'm making it available. There's nothing wrong with it, or if there is, I'll point it out. But a lot of times selling raw is tough in that aspect.
It is tough. And the funny thing, I said it to Source the other day. Actually, I said people were just so clouded over the fact that you have to have your card graded that by the time you spend all the money and you get it back and the profit you make on it, you actually can make more money off selling your cards raw than actually graded cards. And you don't have to worry about the wait time. But like you're saying, you're seeing it at shows. The perception is if the card's not graded, then there's defects on the card, which is crazy. And that's where, it's just
there's defects on PSA 10s. Anyone seen those off-centered Lucas? That's I mean,
exactly. All right, let's get down to the last few questions. These are some very fun ones. Not to say the other ones weren't fun, but what's your favorite card in your PC?
My favorite, I got a couple, so I'll go through them quick. It's got to be Kobe stuff.
Love it.
This is one of my favorite cards.
So cool.
I've had a few of these graded over the years, but this is probably the one I've had the longest that I just had in my box. 1996, the Skybox EX. Not everybody knows this isn't actually just one card. They made this card. They pressed two cards together. That's why there's such a tough grade. That along with the foil. Skybox New Edition. This is just one of those 90s inserts that I think just looks really cool. I picked up an Allen Iverson one too recently and a Ray Allen, just because I like the look of the. This is 1996 Skybox also.
Okay.
So that's an insert from there.
Nice.
Here's Hoops. Hoops has some quality stuff from 1996. This is Grant Hill's all rookie team. This is actually a pretty rare card, and they are very hard to find in good condition. This one's not. If I sent this in, it's probably a PSA 5 or 6, but it's just kind of a really rare card to have out of Hoops. That's and awesome. Then this is one just because I think Darius Miles was an athletic freak that I loved watching him go dunk. So a card with Kobe and Darius Miles on it, I just really like. This is my all-time favorite card. Nothing crazy, but 2000 SP Game Used Edition Kobe Bryant. This is my favorite photo of Kobe Bryant, in-game dunk. Everything else is black and white out. The focus is solely there on Kobe, and I just think it's just a really hard, crazy photo. So that one's my favorite.
People that listen back to this, make sure you head over to YouTube and you'll be able to see those cards from Rad. They are sick. They are so nice. Kobe stuff it just proves that those inserts and stuff are just so cool. They look fantastic. And they're different designs. Second last, what do you think? Oh, actually, third last. I've thought of something else. What do you think is an underrated card set, or card product?
Can be anything. There's a lot to choose from. You like the older stuff, so you can go into that.
I do, but I'm going to switch it up. What I think a modern underrated Panini Revolution.
Okay, I think
I really love Panini Revolution cards. I
just bought a Dominique Wilkins auto Revolution one on
card.
Did
you really? Is it on card?
Nice. Yeah, it's on card.
Yeah, because see, Panini Revolution was doing on card autos, whereas a lot of the Prisms they're all on sticker. Except for I think this last year because of COVID, everything was on sticker.
Yeah,
but I just like the look of it. The Chinese New Year edition I think looks really good. The Emerald cards numbered out of 88 look really cool. My all-time favorite.
You've had a few big ones in the Revolution. I've seen. You remember you had a big Luka.
I had a 9.5 Luka that I crossed to a PSA 10. Sadly, I no longer have it, but you've got to take profits where you can. I had a Trae Young one. Moved that one. I have a Shea Gilgeous. I haven't graded it yet, but I'd like to get that one slabbed. So I think Panini Revolution is an underrated set, and it's pretty affordable.
I like it. Source, second last thing. Did you want to jump into a bit of baseball with Rad?
Yeah, look.
You've got a bit of a story.
Yeah, we'll bring it up, Dom. We'll bring it up. Let me just bring up the screen, first of all, and we'll click it over. So here's one that Rad mentioned to me in the DMs, and I thought I'll bring it up for him on Ladder feed. So Rad, massive Mookie Betts collector. Obviously, the Mookie Betts top update 2014 PSA 10. That's his flagship rookie card. And then on Mike Trout, on the other hand, is the 2011 Topps update Mike Trout PSA 10. That's his flagship. Now, I'm looking at this is the 2-year graph, so we can see the amazing rise that's come. I mean, back 2019, I wish I was buying more Mookie Betts. You could have been buying them for $66. Late 2019, $60, $100. So today you're sitting pretty. So we'll move it into the 6-month graph. So here's the 6-month graph, and the top is obviously Mike Trout compared to Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts, it's a funny one because he's actually won 2 World Series. He's won an MVP. Mike Trout, I think's won an MVP, but never won a World Series.
He's won multiple MVPs. He's never won a playoff game.
Never won a playoff game, right? So this baffles me, right? When I talk about buying accomplishments, like I understand statistics, but is Mike Trout no different to like a James Harden of the NBA? I mean, he never had success. He just puts up stats. What's the difference? Right. So I understand people love Mike Trout and Big Boy movement. He's a big Mike Trout collector, a big fan of this show. But I don't understand the discrepancy that Mookie Betts today is selling for $373, and Mike Trout is selling for $3,000.
Yep.
I don't get it, right? And this is where, his cards have actually come down. If you have a look at the 3-month graph, they were selling for $800 3 months ago, and now they are $373. The Dodgers aren't doing too bad. I think they're still within a chance they're going to make the playoffs. They should be able to compete again. So, it just... I don't understand it, Rad. If you can shed any light on it, because this is one that you wanted to compare it, and I've brought it up. So it's literally a 10x discrepancy.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a 10x difference in talent. And Mookie Betts this year has slowed down, or part of it I think is he's hitting leadoff number 1, so less opportunities for RBIs. Things like that. So his run numbers will be up higher, but his RBI numbers will be down. But many consider Mookie Betts the second best all-around player in baseball. So if you're the second best all-around player in baseball, and again, that's just opinion. Some people might think Tatis now because he's going crazy, or Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, all great players. But with the trophy case that Mookie Betts has, the rings, the MVPs, the postseason success, I think the gap between him and Mike Trout should be closer. And it's funny you bring up Big Boy movement. He had a goal of getting, I think, 10 Mike Trout Gem Mint or PSA 10 Mike Trout update cards, which kind of got me thinking. And I hit him up and I said, hey, you know what, man? I'm going to do a project myself. I wanted to get 10 Mookie Betts PSA 10 Topps update cards, and I have my 10. I bought them anywhere from a range of $165 up to the most I spent was $800 on one. The peak, it might not be on Card Ladder, but the peak sales I've saw on eBay were about $1,000, $1,050. And I held on to the cards, and now they're worth about $375, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm upside on average. I am way upside down on my Mookie Betts cards for what I'm into them for, but I believe in the card, and I think it's a long-term hold. And if what we're seeing with the Mike Trout Topps update, I think the Mookie will close in on it. Might not reach the same price level, but I think the gap will close definitely.
Yeah, in my opinion, it has to close. I mean, back on the 13th of Feb, you have a sale here. One sold both on the same day, $6,000. $6,250, and the Mookie Betts was $1,026. So even then, back then, when the market was higher, there was still a 6x discrepancy between the two, and I don't feel that the discrepancy should be that much. When and we don't know what's going to happen with Mike Trout. What's the go? I think he's still contracted with the Angels for quite a little while. They signed him up to a big contract, so that team has to improve. They're playing a lot better. I mean, they've got Ohtani.
Ohtani's playing great.
I'd like to thank Rad. He actually gifted me an Ohtani card, PSA 10 rookie card, and it was funny because I was he did a giveaway to people who had bought things off him quite frequently, and I bought quite a few cards off Jarrod, and I was in there and I got the last spot. So I sort of just got what was left over. And Otani was left over. So like, look, I was like, I'm getting a PSA 10. So I don't really know anything about baseball, but I'm going to take it. And then people are telling me that this guy's good. He's just been unlucky with injuries. So I'm like, you know what? I didn't pay for this card. Like, you know, I'm just going to keep it in my collection. It's my first PSA 10 baseball card. So I was like, all right, sweet. And it's worked out. Otani's dominating, and I'm like, stuff it. I'm still gonna keep the card. To me, I'm keeping the card forever. Like whatever Otani is, like I don't really care. I'm not gonna sell it. Like it's just priceless that it's. You gifted me the card, and now the guy's just playing so well. So to me, it's just a great story. It's like one day, like, yeah, I got gifted this Otani rookie card, and Otani was a beast, man, and someone gave this to me. Like, I'll be like, it'll just be a great story. So I want to hold on to it so I can tell that story.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got one of those too, and then like a couple other Otanis, but yeah, Otani was another one. We kept getting hurt. I bought Otani high and I sold him low, and then I included it in a giveaway to people as well. So that's just kind of how the Otani roller coaster has been.
It's funny. Last spot mojo sauce. That's what they say. Last spot mojo, and you got it. Last spot, you got the PSA 10 Otani. All right. Last thing, Jarrod. If you had to give one piece of advice to anyone coming into the hobby, what would it be?
Make as many positive relationships as you can. Not necessarily as a who you know, but who you can gain knowledge from and learn from and ask questions to, develop, relationship with someone that you trust, you can talk cards with, bounce ideas and opinions off of back and forth. Knowledge is everything in this hobby. I mean, you can buy what you like. I mean, and I don't want to, tell anybody what to do with how they hobby, whether they want to flip, whether they want to collect, whether they want to, do whatever they want. But, develop positive relationships in the hobby. Really, especially because with the development of social media, scamming, as we all know, has become a real problem. Just be real selective. If something looks too good to be true, it probably is. But yeah, develop those positive relationships. Learn as much as you can, and just enjoy it. It's meant to be fun. Keep it positive. There's so much, a lot of negativity currently, just with prices being down and people getting scammed and things like that. Just like find your happy spot and run with it.
I like
Very
that.
good. Very good point. And, just to lead off from that, and then we'll outro and get off here, Jarrod, and won't take any more of your time. But he said building positive relationships, and that helps with the things that you may think might be too good to be true. You build those positive relationships. You've got someone who's maybe been in the hobby longer than you, a bit more experienced than you, and you can ask them. And that's what the great thing about building those positive relationships is, asking someone for help or asking them about their opinion on something that you might want to buy, or, what's your opinion on this in regards to whatever aspect it may be. And, get some help. So that's one of the best things about it. So, yeah, very, very good point, Jarrod.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate it as well. So on behalf of myself, the Great Man Source, and Jarrod, _Ripper sports cards, we'll put all the info in the description for this post. Keep living, loving, and breathing sports. It's double coverage, and peace.
Peace out, ladies and gents. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. Also, follow us on socials: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Talking all sports, double coverage.